Welcome to our video on how to refurbish the liquid end on an Encore 700 dosing pump. We're going to show you how to replace the discharge and suction valves, and in addition how to replace the Teflon faced diaphragm sandwiched between the head and the gearbox. You will have previously purchased a diaphragm spares kit. These kits are available in many different sizes, and it will come in a box fully assembled like this. In addition, you will have purchased a valve spares kit. This will come in a box like this with all components you need to refurbish whatever valves you have. They'll come in many sizes and many different materials depending on what chemical you're pumping. Our first job will be to remove the discharge valve on top of the head. Safety first, so be aware the pump could still contain dangerous chemicals, so wear the appropriate protective gloves and eye protection. First of all, remove the two socket cap screws and washers holding the valve clamp to the connector. Now lift the valve clamp from the connector. You can now remove the valve connector, the body of the valve, which is the guide that's got the ball and seat inside it, and the O-ring may well be stuck to the top of the head, so make sure you remove that at this stage. So we've now removed the connector where your pipework will be connected to, the clamp that holds this in place, and the body of the valve itself. The seat and the ball can be removed from the bottom like this. The valve body itself has got O-rings either end of it. These will come in the kit along with the new valve body itself. The seat has got an O-ring around it. Both the seat and the O-ring will also be in the kit. Now the suction valve on the bottom of the head is removed in the same fashion as the discharge valve, which you've just removed. It's exactly the same in appearance and consists of the same parts. We're now going to remove the head and untightening the bolts on the head, similar to a cylinder head on a car, to avoid cracking in a diagonal form. Two upper and two lower bolts that hold the head on also retain what is known as the eye bolts or eye nuts at the top that are used to clamp the valve to the head. You should now be able to lift the head free of the rest of the gearbox, and inside the head you'll be able to see the swept chamber where the diaphragm compresses, and the diaphragm itself, which is Teflon faced. The diaphragm itself is simply unscrewed from the connecting rod in an anti-clockwise motion. When it comes to the end of the thread, it simply lifts clear, and you can see on the back of the diaphragm the threaded boss. And when you look inside the head itself, the gearbox behind the head, you can see the com rod poking out with the bellows seal on it. Now you can remove the new diaphragm you've purchased from the packing and simply screw it back on to the connecting rod. This does not need to be over tightened in any fashion. Hand tight is good enough. You can now replace the head of the pump, making sure that the locating dowel is in the right position. This ensures the pump head is up the right way. There's also an arrow on the front of the head which should be pointing upwards. Make sure this is well seated. You can now start to replace the bolts in the head, ensuring the eye nuts are placed in the top two holes and the bottom two holes before putting all the rest of the bolts through the head. These bolts should be tightened in the same sequence they were untightened and removed to avoid any warping or cracking of the head. And please don't forget to torque these to the appropriate setting as in the instruction manual. You can now replace the complete valve guide, the two larger O-rings either end, ensuring the arrow is pointing in the up direction. All these parts will be in the kit. First thing to do is to replace the ball inside the valve guide, press the valve seat and the new O-ring into the guide to perform one assembly, and then place it in the right direction, ensuring the arrow is pointing upwards on top of the head. You can now replace the rest of the valve stack, which consists of the connector and the valve clamp that holds the whole assembly together, using the two capped screws and washers. It's a reversal of the disassembly procedure. Make sure that it feels secure and the O-rings are in place before you actually tighten these set screws up. You can now perform the same procedure on the suction valve on the base of the head, ensuring the arrows are all pointing in the right direction. It's exactly the same procedure as was used on the discharge valve, making sure the O-rings and everything are seated properly before tightening the screws. That brings us to the conclusion of this video, and having completed these tasks, your pump should be good for at least another 12 months operation 24/7. Thank you for watching our video, And remember, every spare part for these pumps can be purchased from Water Process Solutions, and you can view our product range online at waterprocesssolutions.com.